Fighting games are hard. You've got all these buttons, all these characters, all these combinations for special moves. For a casual gamer, it can feel like rocket science trying to figure it all out, and many give up only after a couple of minutes. As a result, fighting game developers are faced with a conundrum. How do you make content which caters to a small but dedicated competitive scene while also being fun enough for newcomers to stick around? Different developers have come up with different solutions. Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator had an incredibly detailed tutorial mode which aimed at teaching newbies the ropes.
You bitch!
The Mortal Kombat series puts out tons of single-player content with great story.
That is no toy. It belongs to Shang Tsung.
And Smash built its game design behind being as intuitive as possible. For business reasons, it's crucial for fighting games to cater to as wide of an audience as possible, so it's no surprise why developers pour resources into making their games accessible. Street Fighter, a series that has historically ignored the need for better accessibility for casual players, has pivoted a complete 180, and may be setting the bar for what's expected from fighting game developers in the future. So what exactly has Street Fighter 6 done right? And how has it set the bar for what we need from games moving forward? One of the biggest barriers for entry for fighting game players is motion inputs. For veterans of the genre, executing a quarter circle to perform a Hadouken or 623 for a Shoryuken will feel like second nature. But for new players, these motions are unintuitive and just flat out difficult. Still, for those who stick it out and consistently learn to input specials, then they have to learn how to combo. Then they have to figure out what's a hit confirm, what's a link, is this move positive or negative on block, and then trying to wrap all of that together and actually playing a real-life opponent while controlling your own character, it can be utterly overwhelming. Some games, like Rising Thunder, have experimented with removing motion inputs altogether, but for a vast majority of fighting games, learning motion inputs is the bare minimum. So how is Capcom trying to solve the issue? Introducing modern controls. In other fighting games, there exists something called simplified controls. It's basically an auto combo button that throws out moves for you. Obviously, this is too easy. So modern controls is an attempt to find a middle ground. The control scheme features one-button specials and supers, but adds a bit more complexity by requiring players to differentiate between light, medium, and heavy attack button presses. You still have to know your character's moves, but you don't have to worry about memorizing which button to press, in what order, and with what stick motion. In short, modern controls significantly reduces the barrier for entry for new players so that they can focus more on, actually playing against their opponent. But that's not all Capcom has added to Street Fighter 6. Next up is their 6th single-player mode, the World Tour. The World Tour is the franchise's first real dive into creating an actual story mode that's not just a series of CPU-controlled opponents. Plus, they had to make things right after what they did to the free single-player DLC for Street Fighter V.
What? Are you guys serious?
Thankfully, they've learned from their mistakes. At its core, the World Tour is a dressed-up tutorial for Street Fighter 6. It teaches you how to play, introduces new mechanics like the drive system, and removes the burden of having to choose a character to play and being forced to stick with them. Instead, you have an avatar, and you learn the different fighting styles of the game's cast, slowly building experience, unlocking their moves, and becoming stronger. With the ability to mix and match whatever special moves you enjoy, World Tour is a great way for players to learn about the different playstyles and characters, and eases you into the character selection process when it's time to try PvP. But the World Tour isn't just about fighting random people on the street. It also has a variety of playable minigames to keep you busy, as well as cosmetic customization so you can make your avatar look as cool or as silly as you like. Overall, the World Tour is great. It's fun for casuals, unique in the fighting game genre, and shows that Capcom actually does care about their player base. And this is actually important, because casual players make up a huge majority of a game's player base. The easier it is for them to get into the genre, the more likely they'll be to stick around and attend tournaments in the future. To illustrate this point, let's look at another game that is notoriously hostile for beginners, StarCraft 2. Despite Blizzard dropping support for StarCraft nearly 3 years ago, the game still has a healthy player base. But the reason for its health isn't the grinders who spam ladder matches every day. Instead, it's the casual players who partake in arcade game modes like custom lobbies and co-op modes with friends. Same goes for Overwatch 2, where the ability to play silly modes like COD Zombies is just as vital to the game's survival as its competitive queue. Of course, for fighting games like Street Fighter, there aren't as many options to customize the experience, but the game does a solid job with extreme battles, which adds special conditions for the game, such as winning by landing 6 knockouts in a row, or by throwing in bombs that could explode at any time for the players to knock back and forth. Ultimately, even if purists stay away from the game modes and only play online ranked matches, the inclusion of different modes doesn't hurt the game's appeal. Between the introduction of modern controls and all the new content, Street Fighter 6 is going to be a great jumping off point for a new generation of fighting game players. With a new Mortal Kombat and Tekken game just over the horizon, we're excited to see the fighting game community grow and EVO continue to shatter records. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to B, Pass, Retro, Shampoo, and Yashichi for being Platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Cloud, Steph, and Jack for being our Diamond supporters. Thank you guys so much. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord. If you want to support our channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.